Good afternoon. A unique you in a fractured world. We are each a unique spirit, not intended to conform, so we need to believe in our contributions and develop tools to help others around us succeed in co-creation. You are a one-of-a-kind person. You can be confident in that. Your confidence supports your ethical and entrepreneurial decisions. Your brand comes from deep exploration and reflection. You can achieve with others with new tools and skills. More young adults have recently mentioned to me that they do not feel they fit in. Everyone feels that way at certain times. There are businesses, corporate identities, and other groups that may set a framework that encourages you to fit in. And if you're not strong in your own beliefs and who you are, it's easy to get pulled into a direction that's not healthy for yourself. My dad took me to work with him at his upholstery shop when I was as young as 5 years old. He taught me to do things I was able to do at that age. He never told me I wasn't capable of anything I wanted to try. He told me what I was not allowed to do. And looking back on that interaction, I realized how much he helped me to feel that I had the capacity to take on challenges. Sometimes you may be excited about an idea that you have and take it to others, and you may receive what I call the virtual pat on the head. This is the first stage of those who do not pick up on your ideas. There's a resistance, there's a ridicule for new ideas, and that virtual pat on the head is sort of like, well, that's interesting, but we're not going to really take that seriously. And you usually know what that is. At 18, my first career was as a hairstylist. I studied modeling and hairstyling while I was still in high school. And I got to meet a lot of great people and go on interesting trips. And one of the most fascinating things I did was I actually modeled on the stage of Madison Square Garden in an international hairstyling competition. I definitely did not fit in as a model, but what an experience it was. It didn't matter that I wasn't tall. I learned something from it, and we learn something from everything that we do. And in our competitions, and honestly, when you're in hairstyling competitions, you will not fit in with anything in the normal walk of life. But we had our own businesses, and I was able to win a lot of trophies, have a lot of fun, always creative. And it helped me to have a variety of careers and independence in my jobs and work that I did. I've had my own businesses. I've worked in government, helping small businesses and downtown development. And in 2001, I achieved my certification as one of a few certified economic developers by the International Economic Development Council. So in developing your brand, does an algorithm really know you? Do you know that in social media and everything that you do on the internet today, and even when you go into stores and you're using loyalty cards and all of the other things that you interact with, there are algorithms trying to determine who you are so that they can send you specific recommendations and information. Don't you think it would be worth our while to learn something about ourselves and what it is that we're really interested in instead of having it come through an algorithm? In developing your brand, it requires reflection and deep exploration into what your passions are and what your talents are. One of my most rewarding classes at Gardner Webb has been the personal branding class with Dr. Don Caudle, because I've done so many different things and I've taken on so many challenges. Learning that our brand is not our work, it's what's inherent in us and what's innate talent in us. It's what comes naturally for us as individuals. And then how can we connect that with others? So for a couple of examples, are you an achiever or an activator? Adaptable, analytical, arranger? How are you connected? Are you aware that there's a purpose beyond your everyday life? Knowledge and skills can be learned and are experienced. New approaches can be created. And innate talent can develop further with skills. Your talent shows in things that you can do without thinking. Develop a vision. What is possible? In relation to algorithms, one of the research studies that I ran across refers to our connections that we have. This is an example of a social network of jazz musicians. And each edge, which is connectors, shows that the musicians have played together in a band, have a relationship. What's interesting about this study is that they refer to characteristics of people in the network as agnostic, influenced, and evangelist, with the evangelist being the one that most has an impact on the entire network. Everyone in the study starts out as an agnostic, and then through the connections and the sharing and the information passed along, some are influenced, and some of those influenced become evangelists for the information that they're sharing. And all of this is done in big data, and it's something that we should be aware of. That's interesting. I hope that in this presentation that you'll get just a seed of an idea that you find interesting and want to follow up on. In developing my brand, the colors, the information that's conveyed is just a simple representation of what my study found for my brand. It's not about the picture, it's about what goes in behind the picture. My work in taking on massive challenges in small business and community development, as well as research and the various interests that I have, comes across in All is Possible, Authentic Communities represented by the small business awning, and then the Stardust, which is that little bit of extra magic, although a lot of times it's really about the people who come together to work on a project together and a miracle happens. Aha! Now I get my brand. And I can feel a little bit more confident in what my talents are. A world fractured and changing fast. It shouldn't be too hard to get an understanding that the world is changing very fast. Even if you're young, a lot has changed quickly in our phones that we carry, the access we have to information, people that are moving into paying with their phones, cars that are provided by Uber, which may later just be autonomous and not even need a driver. So many things are changing. Albert Einstein said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. We're in a complex world. We used to think in terms of a glass half empty or half full. I propose that the glass is been smashed on the floor and it's in 100 shards. And each of those shards represents challenges and opportunities, and you can never put that glass together again the way that it was. We live in a time of technological advances that are faster and faster and faster. Community disconnections. We're in isolated silos, yet we have new global connections. And we're in this increasingly rapidly changing future. Dealing with complexity and ideas in a future we don't know, new forms of collaboration are required. Ethical and entrepreneurial decisions are supported by our ability to know who we are. And change requires new language and new skills. In everything that we do, words matter. And so new language is often required for new skills. And personal transformation is something that we can work for. There are 4 stages to transformation, as developed by the Center for Communities of the Future. I had the honor and pleasure of working on projects with Center for Communities of the Future, and it's been very helpful in everything that I've done since then. The first stage is resistance and ridicule. Then, that's interesting. I might give that some thought. Aha, now I get it. And finally, of course. I should have seen that. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know that we know. We know we don't know. We know we know. Learn from the past and think in relation to the future. One of the things about stretching your mind and making new connections and the ability to think differently is that it does have an effect on improving stress, which affects your health. This study by the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology was looking at ways in a random trial to see what could be done in a workplace that helped to reduce stress. And the interesting process that I picked up on is that mindfulness, in the way that they looked at it, is exploring your own experience and learning how to respond to others and to situations. And it requires practice. And in changing how you respond, you actually reduce your stress. And it helps in your other abilities to do your work. And this is similar to what personal transformation does. It's a way of learning to react differently and to understand how you use your skills to work with others so that you can co-create together. These are some of the transformational skills from the Center for Communities of the Future. Ask appropriate questions. That means ask a question to really learn something that you can connect with, rather than asking a question, which we often do, just to get feedback to confirm something we already think. Challenge assumptions in a future context. Does our assumption really relate to something that existed in the past, or is it in line with things that are changing? Listen to get to know others at a deeper level. Listen for value and to connect ideas. This takes a lot of practice too. And both instead of either or. How can I connect to your idea and I'm listening for what you have to say instead of I'm right and you're wrong, either or. Identify weak signals of future trends. Seed new ideas. Think in terms of adaptive planning because there's so many scenarios for the future. In working in a structured traditional process, sometimes we have to develop ideas separately so that they can be worked on in a parallel process that doesn't threaten the traditional structure. The world changes faster and faster. We change slowly. Struggle and co-creation are necessary. Discover yourself, be your best for yourself before you try to fit someone else's profile. We each have a little bit of light to shine on the world. And just recently from Lauren Slatter on Facebook, individually we are one drop. Together we are an ocean. I thought that was a beautiful representation. And of course, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will.